we've always battled to get cows to do good production here. And we tried to feed maize out in paddocks and all sorts of stuff, and quickly realised that the utilisation was poor, terrible, in fact, in winter, spring in particular here. So hence we now have a feed pad. This farm was the Riverlea Swamp. So back in the original days, there's still a lot of springs that come up here every winter, so it's wet. It's a wet farm. And so we took this farm on. The best it had ever done was 107,000 milk solids between the 350 acre area, and now we're doing 160,000 more or less every year, close enough to it. Apart from obviously this year, because we've reduced our stocking rate and trying to lift per cow production. If a cow goes off her feed, even for a couple of days, she gets, like if she's at 2.1, 2.2 solid a cow and has a couple of bad days, she'll drop down to 1.5, and even worse if they are seriously sick. And if you get one that's slightly off colour, you need to do something about her if you're looking to try and achieve what we try to do, which is we're looking at 600 milk solids a cow as a target now. And to get that, you've got to have every cow pulling its weight. It's important to have healthy cows from the get-go, and it's important to have them stay healthy right through. I just don't have the time without staff to achieve a transition mob. It was always going to be a lot of work. But then as we've moved through, since the 80s and 90s and 2000s, farming has changed and keeps changing. And now emissions is becoming a huge thing, so you want to try and increase production per cow. So in doing that, you need to be attacking getting cows producing a lot of milk early, and then keeping that lactation for as long as you can. And that's where Bruce said, I can help you here. This is what our transition diet is primarily targeting, is getting cows thinking they've already calved 2 weeks prior to calving. And so I thought, well, okay, let's give that a go and see what happens. I remember the day, 2 days before I was due to start the transition diet, I was down at a mate's place south of Hara, and they are quite into this nutrition stuff. And I said, oh, I'm going to be putting lime flour in the mix 2 weeks before they calve. And I know that's bad because I've had cows in a calving mob with my milkers on the feed pad eating their diet, and then they might leave a little bit behind, and the dry cows come in and clean it up, and then 2 days later they're all down with milk fever. So I rang Bruce. I said, are you sure it's lime flour that I should be putting in this diet? He goes, yep, 100%. So I did, thinking, here we go, I'm going to have metabolic issues for Africa. And honestly, it was just like, it was unbelievable. And when they calved, I could not believe the udders I was seeing. Like, see an animal doing 2.1 milk solids a day from the 1st of August was crazy. Like, you just didn't think it was possible. And yeah, so that's what sold me on that. I knew I was on a good track once I saw that. That was pretty cool. The benefits we got from the spring has already shown itself this year, because we've had cows calved early. They broke a record in August that we had set with 80 more cows calving. So there was less cows calved, but we were doing better production. They cycled early. We had 87% non-return rate for 6 weeks. So they got in calf early. We had a mammoth calving this spring where 90% of our herd was in 5 weeks. So a lot of that's to do with what happened with the feeding, right? So that's, for me, that tells me there's a no-brainer there. That tells me we're actually making money without even looking at the books. I don't know. But I'm saying I reckon we're doing very well with it. 600 milk solids a cow. If you'd asked me that question like even 2 years ago, I would have said we're not interested, not even going to go there, because you're going to impact fertility. Because we've always had a fairly fertile herd, so I've always prided myself on 9 weeks mating. And so in the last 4 years we've dropped to 8 weeks, so we took 3 days off at the start and we dropped 4 days off the end. So that created an 8-week mating period, and we always had 8, 9, 10% empty. Last year we achieved 5.5% empty rate, and an 8-week mating. And Sollus would have to be a part of that. There's a whole lot of things that have gone together and all of that sort of stuff. But when you throw all that stuff together and mix it all up, you're coming out with something that's creating the best possible environment for a cow to thrive in, really. So once you've got cows doing production, you know, you've then just got to make sure you're feeding them. That's all you need to do. Those benefits are beneficial for product going to the factory, so they're creating more product from less cows, usually, or hopefully. So everybody can, you know, it's because when I started farming, it was all about cows on the ground, you know, cows per hectare. It was all about that. The more cows you had, the more milk you could produce. But bugger feeding them, you know, who cared about feeding them? You just had more cows. And then you struggled to feed them. Whereas now the thinking has got to be reduce the footprints, but do the same production. How can you do that? So now people are doing 600 and 700 milk solids a cow, which, you know, 10 years ago you were looking at those sort of people thinking they're crazy. There's no way a cow will do that. You know, 1.5 times her body weight or 1.25 times her body weight. And people are producing bigger cows and they got less cows, so you've got less workload in doing the same production. So that's got to be beneficial to everything that we do. Sustainability is the key, it certainly is, and I think Sollus is a big part of it.